Hello to everybody listening to this week's episode of Grain of Salt. Thank you so much for being here. We did want to start off this week's episode with a disclaimer. This podcast may involve mention of sensitive topics. Viewer and listener discretion is advised. If you or someone you know is experiencing a mental health crisis, dial 988 to reach the Suicide and Crisis Hotline, and of course, dial 911 in an emergency. A number of links to resources will also be included in the description below. And without further ado, let's get into this week's episode. It was
right
there. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they had that.
So I went up like the jank elevator and like walked down the jank hallway, met with the jank counselor. But
lines of cocaine on the desk.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 4 of Grain of Salt. Thank you for returning if you're a returning viewer, and thank you for being here regardless. If you're brand fucking new, maybe one of our TikToks went viral. I literally had a dream last night that one of our TikToks went viral.
Really?
I specifically remember it had 17.1 million views, and we got like 600 followers.
Oh my god.
It's kind of a bad ratio.
Yeah, but it's still something.
Yeah, they're like, oh, they're good, I guess. But yeah, if you've caught up on all the episodes, thank you so much for being a super supporter of our little podcast thing we got going on here.
Yay.
If you didn't see last week's episode, we talked about love languages. That was our longest episode yet. We forgot to, I need to set a timer. I almost forgot. This one was about to be our longest episode yet. This week on Grain of Salt, by the way, we're here every Thursday.
Yes.
YouTube, iHeart, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. So go through those ads again. Get us a couple more pennies in our pocket.
Please.
This is a volunteer position at this point.
Yeah.
But this week we are talking about therapy. That's a pretty deep topic. So I don't know, I guess that could be a trigger warning. If you get triggered by, I don't know. Maybe that's the opposite of a trigger warning.
Yeah. Pleasant
warning. Therapy. Very comfortable indeed warning. Yeah. So yeah, we both have experiences with therapy, so we're gonna just have a little convo about it today. Feel free to jump in the comments or even DM us if you want it to be on a private medium. You can go ahead and shoot it there, and we'll be happy to answer any questions or comments or anything of that sort. But without further ado, let's get to talking about therapy on episode number 4 of Grain of Salt. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok, or we'll murder your family.
Yeah.
That's not a threat for legal reasons. I already see the helicopter coming in with the like machine gun going.
Oh god.
Okay. Do you want to go first, Miss Lady?
Yeah, sure. I love therapy.
Do you?
Yeah.
Me too.
I think it's like, I literally wrote it down. I was like, I just want someone to listen to the shit that I say.
Yeah.
That's it.
And someone, I think it's important that it's also like, sometimes that it's just not somebody you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to like pass by, especially a mental health professional. Like that's
for sure.
The best person to get a second opinion from, because they're detached. If you go to even a family member, like say it's a situation about a friend and you go to another friend about it, it's like, they might still know that friend and they might be, I don't know if biased is the right word, but they're just involved, where this person is completely detached. It's basically the freshest perspective you can get. Yeah. Because they only have, if they have knowledge about the situation, it's still from you. So they really see it from your perspective.
Yeah, I think that's mostly the reason why I like to go to like just a random person, because it's like, they're not seeing it from like anybody else's perspective but their own, and like they're hearing my side of the story, and maybe they're like, oh, what's the other side of the story though, like you know, and they'll like really help you understand your feelings and then like how to cope with it. And I don't know, it's just like, I haven't been to therapy in a very long time though.
Really?
Yeah, it's been like I think my sophomore year, so like 6 years ago.
Was that 6
5 years ago? Yeah.
Holy shit, you're old.
Yeah, because I mean, one of my friends is graduating, so that means it's almost 4 years since I've been out of high school, right?
Oh, wow.
So since my sophomore
were they a
year.
freshman when?
Yeah, they're my age. What do you mean? Were they a freshman?
Were they a freshman when you left?
Yeah.
Because then it would be 4 years. You're like, no, they were in my grade, but they're graduating now.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Super, super, super senior.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think, and I don't know, I felt like it was a little bit weird because they would go in, they would talk to me, and then after they would be like, oh, bring your mom in. And I was like, but what are you going to say to her?
Yeah.
Like, why does she need to come in?
Yeah, because you were a minor.
Yeah, so I understand that part, but I'm like, isn't it still like, oh, you don't say anything unless they're like hurting themselves or hurt others? I'm just like, why do you need her to go in and then me not be in the room?
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, it's a fine line, because I can see, like, I feel like it should almost be situational. Like, once you get past 12 or something, then it's like, oh, you don't necessarily legally need to get the parents involved, but you can if you feel like you need to. But to legally have to disclose, like, it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Because, like, that's what therapy is. I feel like for a lot of people, it's outside of their family. It's outside of the normal elements of their life. And then if you end, like, you're fucking sobbing walking out and your parents go in, it's like, obviously they're going to find something out. And it's almost like you lose that trust in the therapist because, and it's not any fault of the therapist, but it's like, you're confiding in them, and it's like, if you see your parents walk in, like, the next session, you're not gonna be as vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I don't know, for me, I'm very easily like, I'll just tell her, like, them anything. Like, if they're like, oh, so what's going on today, and I'll be
the
like,
therapist or your parents?
Oh, okay. my therapist. And I would be like, girl, you don't even want to know. And I just like spill like all, like, I used to go, I believe, once a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
that's pretty frequent.
Yeah. And it was honestly I feel like I was mostly at peace during that time. Like,
oh, good. So you didn't necessarily need therapy then.
Yeah, but like, it was still very helpful just to like, I'm a very emotional person. Yeah. And I hold my feelings back a lot. Yeah. So it was very like easy for me to be like, oh, a stranger, okay, like, they need to know everything.
Yeah. My point with that is, I feel like a lot of people start therapy because they like are in a place where they're struggling with their mental health. I think everyone not necessarily needs therapy, but I think it's really good to, like, once you get out of that rut without killing yourself, then it's good to maintain it and stay in therapy. I feel like a lot of people may think of it as therapy is only needed when you're trying to get yourself out of a rut, and then once you're done, it's like, oh, I don't need therapy anymore. But like, and it doesn't have to be as frequent either. Like, say, I think I have therapy today. I have therapy later today. And I think, you know, it could start with even multiple times a week to really get on top of that issue that you're dealing with. And then even like once a month, even like, that's better than nothing, obviously. And it's just good to keep tabs on it. It's like, it's like almost like a car. Like, you're like fueling up the car. If you keep driving it for a while and you don't put that gas in, I think I'm going to get a Nobel Peace Prize for that.
It's not like anybody's used that.
Someone's knocking.
But, yeah, I don't know. And like, when I first started, it was super weird though, because because I was still like underage, a minor. So like, she gave me a paper. She's like, write your feelings down. I was like, what
oh, really?
fuck is this
she didn't
shit?
Just talk to you?
No, she didn't. She was like, or she like introduced herself, and she was like, from what your parents have told me, it's very hard for you to like explain your feelings and like, you know, like
into words out loud.
Yeah. So she was like, if you want, here's like a paper, and then it has a few questions, and just answer it. Like,
I'd imagine that is easier for people because you're not answering on the spot. So
yeah, exactly.
That's a good tactic.
Yeah, and so like, I did it, and it was like okay, but then on some of them I was like, what the fuck does this mean? Like, I don't remember exactly what the questions were.
They weren't like generic questions.
Yeah, they weren't. It was like,
feeling happy or sad today?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like,
I think that was the first question, but after that it got like
deeper.
Yeah, a little bit deeper and deeper, and I'm just like, I don't know. It was
Do you remember any examples of like one of the deeper questions? That's interesting.
I honestly think one of them was like, oh, what do you like, what's one of the things that makes you feel the happiest that you do on the regular or something like that. So like, I was like, does this mean like a hobby or like, I don't understand. And she's like, yeah, whatever makes you happy. I'm like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, that's good then.
Yeah. But I'm just like,
better than if you can't think of one.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. It was also weird because like the timer, you know, you can see it. Like she has it right
really?
there. Yeah, she had it like right next to her, and like she had it like tilted towards her, but I could still see it. I was like, oh, I gotta hurry. I was like, I only have 5 minutes
it's
left.
beeping faster. Oh my god, the wires. Someone disengage the bomb. MacGruber.
Oh god. But yeah, I don't know. It was just, I want to go back. Basically.
Good, yeah.
Yeah,
I should definitely look into that.
I think especially right now in like my headspace at the moment, I definitely feel like I need some therapy. Or like,
we're on the 3rd floor.
Yeah. Close your windows.
Keep those windows closed.
But yeah, I don't think I've never gotten to that point. Yet.
That's good. Yes. Girl. Oh my god, I love you.
I'm just kidding. But
you love me too?
Yeah, I love you too.
I was about to kill myself. Thank God you said that.
Oh god. But
pleasant warning, suicide.
Yeah. Pleasant warning. What was I saying?
You want to go back?
Oh yeah, I definitely feel like I love talking to like you and like other people about it, but I'm like, not to be that person, but like it's kind of like a burden on other people, and like I'm like, people are already dealing with their own shit.
Yeah.
And like I know they want to help too, like I understand, but it's like sometimes like I just feel like maybe someone that can handle it and really like explain to me what I'm feeling is a lot better than your friend just being like, oh, it's okay, like it's gonna be fine,
generic,
like,
yeah
like, and I understand, like I mean, at least I talk to you a lot about stuff, and like it definitely does help to get it just off my chest.
Yeah.
But then like for some certain issues, I'm like, maybe I should actually see some professional about it.
Yeah, because I think, you know, even if a friend wants to help, to us, like they have a limit because they aren't a mental health professional. So I think that's another reason why it's good to seek that out. And again, like I obviously want to mention that we're well aware that like it's not accessible to everybody, which sucks. But so I'm definitely grateful to have that. I went to counseling, like that was the first time I went to like therapy. I went to like, there was like a family therapy we went to, but that wasn't for my situation. But yeah, when I was 16 or 15, that was the first time I went for myself, and that was counseling. I don't know the difference between counseling and therapy, and then I know beyond that a therapist isn't necessarily like a medical doctor, so they can't, like if you get medication it has to be a psychiatrist. So yeah, but yeah, I went to counseling, and that was when I was dealing with OCD, and this guy didn't specialize in OCD, so I feel like he was like, which is really bad, like specifically for OCD, like if you go to the wrong person, it can be really, really bad, because they can think there's like, they can misdiagnose you essentially and be like, like ship you off kind of. And so I feel like I experienced that a little bit, which thank God that was the only extent of it, because now the therapy I am currently in, it is specialized to OCD, and you have to, when you have OCD, have a person that specializes in it, because otherwise it can hurt a lot more than it will help. So and that's like the only thing I've ever been like influenced by with YouTube in terms of like buying something based on an ad is like, yeah, like I was watching like videos on OCD. This was like, I don't know, a year ago or something, or actually like 6 months ago, and it was like, oh, like if you want like therapy with OCD, like go here. And eventually I called. Oh wow. And they did like a free 15-minute call to like see if your insurance lined up with it, and like if you wanted to pursue it or whatever. And it wasn't like a 15-minute therapy session. It was just like to see if you can go for it, basically. Which it doesn't align with my insurance, which makes it, especially at the beginning, I was doing 1-hour sessions. I think it was weekly. Yeah, and those were $170 a pop. Yeah. So that added up really quickly. Luckily, I had some financial help with that. But now I'm doing 30-minute sessions bi-weekly. So that's
good.
It's still 90, so it's $180 a month, but that's compared to the $680 a month, which is like rent.
That is crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Well, not necessarily around here, but
yeah.
And I didn't even know that I was diagnosed until kind of recently. So I started with this therapist, about like 6 months ago. And recently I was like, I don't know, it came up about like, can I say I have OCD or something of that like area? And she was like, oh yeah, like I had you as a diagnosed patient since our second session. And I was like, holy shit. Crazy. Like, and it was like, I always like knew I had it, but I never had like official confirmation. Like, I guess now it's like in my record or whatever. So I'll be jobless for the rest of my life. Just kidding. But yeah, it was definitely like some news. I was like after that session, I was like, wow, like that was the first time I was told I have it, because I wasn't aware that she was legally capable of diagnosing somebody. I thought maybe that had to be done by a psychiatrist or something of that sort. But and they're all done through Zoom. I think it's cool that, in our day and age, like I don't go to an office. I literally I do it in my car. I never do it here because like I really value my privacy. But and same with, I was seeing a counselor as well. I've been with this counselor for like 2 years, but there was a gap when we changed our insurance, and that's happening again. I'm not currently seeing that counselor. I was like a month ago. And then at the new year, our insurance changed, and it just abruptly stopped. I literally like went down and like waited for him to call me, and I was like, it's been 10 minutes. I didn't get a call yet. And then
they didn't even say anything to you? Like, no letter in the mail, no email, no nothing.
I mean, I guess I could have missed an email or letter or something, but I think it's more like, I guess it's probably just a known thing that I'm learning because it's happening kind of for the first times where like if you change your insurance, like it can affect your like anything medically, whether it's like mental health help or like it affected my prescriptions. I had to like figure shit out to get my medication started again, and it was a different price. And I think that's just like something that you learn when you start like adulting. Not that you're not adulting, but
well, no, I don't know. My dad, like, he has us on his insurance still. So he kind of like deals with all of that stuff. And he never really tells me, and I don't think that's
how my dad is too.
I don't have like prescriptions really that I need to like take, I guess. So it's like, I don't really, I mean, I definitely do need to go to the doctor. But
for what?
My ovaries again. I went to this masseuse chiropractor dude, but he's also very like in energies and like crystals and stuff, and he was it was really weird. He like touched the back of my neck. He was like, can I touch your stomach for a second? And like he touched like right where they like have the incision for my surgery, and he was like,
and you didn't tell him that?
He had like no prior knowledge to this, and my mom was like, oh yeah, she had surgery for this, and she was right there. I didn't tell him what it was. And he was like, oh, was it like for her ovaries or something? And she was like, yeah.
Oh my God.
And so
she had a big blonde bob. And her name was Teresa. The Long Island medium. She's like, did your ovaries pass away? I'm getting an energy crossing over from the other side.
My ovaries.
They're like, I always loved you. You like start crying. I needed to hear that.
But he was basically like, you should definitely get that checked out again. And I was like, oh, I feel it. Like my stomach, like it didn't hurt for when I got the surgery, like a little bit after, but after that, like maybe like 4 or 5 months after, I was like, oh, it feels a little weird again.
Wow.
Yeah. And I still haven't gotten my period regularly. So
that's crazy that guy knew.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was really weird.
Was that a local person?
Kind of. He lives in Ontario, so it's like almost like an hour and a half away. But,
Ontario's only an hour and a half away?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I thought it was like further.
No.
Maybe I'm thinking of like Oakland or something.
Yeah.
Or Oregon.
That's definitely farther.
Oregon.
But anyways, my dad always usually like deals with all that stuff, so it's not really like I need to do any of that.
Yeah, I have medication for like asthma and stuff. So like when that came to a quick halt, I was like, I really need that badly.
Stops breathing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I have the inhaler. I have the like a maintenance thing that I take every day, like an inhaler, and then the rescue, which luckily I used it like once recently, but like typically I don't need that. And then like my doctor is like trying new medications for me because I had like remember like in July of 21 I was like sick for the entire month. Like it was really bad. And so like ever since then, like I feel like whenever like even like kind of mild physical exertion and stuff like that, like just trying to figure it out. But I was like, I definitely need that medication.
I remember someone that we know, or that we used to know, they called, it was like an emergency, like mental health thing that they did. And they were like, oh yeah, sometimes I feel like killing myself. I know I won't, but like I just do. And they're like, oh, so where are you at right now? Like, what's your address? And they hung up. They were like, fuck no, they're gonna fucking pick me up right now.
Oh, yeah. I see.
And so
they should really ask that up front. I feel like, because then if they ask it right after they say I'm suicidal, it's like obviously they know what they're getting at.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just like, that was really weird. And they said that the cops like came to their house.
Oh wow.
And they're like, oh, we just want to make sure everything's okay, like everything's good. And he was like, yeah.
Is that a knife in your chest?
Yeah.
Did you just stab yourself in the heart?
Fuck.
I'm good. No, it's a Halloween decoration.
Yeah.
It's like the headband with the knife going through. The bloody knife.
Please.
My therapist, like, she checks in on my location at the beginning of our sessions.
Oh, really?
So, like, yeah, like in one of our, like, obviously she like explained it to me more in depth at the beginning when I started with her. But she was like, yeah, like, what city are you in or whatever? Like, and usually I'm just like a couple blocks from the apartment, like in a random parking lot. But I remembered, like, cause I took one recently and I was in Orange County and I was like, oh, just so you know, like I'm in Orange County, like this time around. But, yeah, she doesn't ask every time, but, it is something that like, I feel like it's good to say up front. Cause then like then you get into the conversation. It's like, oh, I want to kill myself, and it's like, oh, we already have your location. They're on the way.
yeah, exactly. Somehow, like the topic of like therapy came up between me and my cousin, and we were like talking about it. She's like, I think I brought it up. I was like, I definitely need to go back. Like, I feel like it will definitely help me a lot more. Like, I'm not in like the darkest place ever, but like I'm slowly getting there, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm just
proactive.
like, so I'm just like, I definitely need to do that. And I've talked to a few people, including you, about it. So. And then she was like, oh, like, do you like therapy? I was like, yeah, I do. I think, like, strangers listening to me and really telling me, like, my truth, and they, like, know a lot more about it than anybody else does. Yeah. She was like, oh, I just feel like it's super fake. I was like, what do you mean?
It's more real than fake.
Yeah, she was like, I just feel like since they're paid, technically, like, paid to be there, like, it doesn't feel genuine from them, or like I feel like it's not genuine. I was like,
I've never heard that perspective.
Yeah, me either. And then she was like, I'd rather just talk to like my girlfriend about it or something. And I'm like, I mean, to each their own. And like, I mean, there's not always like therapy that is like talking to someone. Like there's literally like music therapy, there's art therapy, like there's many different types of therapy, just like speaking to people. But
and I feel like somebody who thinks in that way may have tried therapy before and they didn't have a good experience. And I think it's good to note that sometimes it takes multiple attempts to find the right fit for a therapist, for, you know, that specific person, because everyone's different too. Everyone has different needs, and why they seek out therapy. I think the kind of commonality of it is most people, like we said earlier, seek it out when they're in the midst of a struggle. So I think that can be super daunting when you initially ask for help, because at that point you're in the midst of it and you want help that second. So even like hearing that, like, you know, we have you in the queue, but it's gonna be a week or two, like, and that's for the first try, like that can be really hard. But if you are in that situation, we believe in you. Push through it. And I went through that, and obviously you went through that because you've tried therapy.
Yeah.
I feel like I was really fortunate. I don't know if, I had kind of better luck. I don't know if that's the right word, but at the beginning when, I think I did go through it in terms of the counselor. Like that, I wouldn't say, looking back on it, I would not say that was a good fit at all. But as far as this most recent attempt where I got the new counselor and then the OCD therapist, I didn't have to try again with either of them. If you've never tried therapy before, like they do, at least some of the providers ask you, like, would you like a male or female?
Oh yeah.
Would you like, I'd imagine there's more like characteristics that you can request even if they don't ask or that they offer. But the ones that come to mind is gender. I feel like I always see that one.
I feel like, for like people transitioning to, or like people coming to terms with their sexuality or like stuff like that too, I'm pretty sure they do have specialists for that as well. Yeah,
and beyond, like the one that my OCD therapist, I watched a little video on her like Vimeo link or whatever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she specializes in OCD, and then grief is also one of hers.
Oh wow.
Which helps because someone died. but yeah, it was like grief, OCD, and I think maybe like familial like turmoil or whatever. So in those, like, obviously the OCD one, well, maybe it's not obvious, but the OCD one is the one that aligns with my needs the most. And I've wanted to, like, especially with the absence of the counselor recently, once we get like our insurance stuff lined up, I do want to look into getting just like a generic therapist, or, maybe another specialty, just so that I can have like another area of my life addressed in that way. Because I think even though OCD helps and it's very broad and something I'm like always dealing with, I think there are other areas that I can't necessarily, and it might be cheaper too. Which, by the way, 30 minutes in a snap. Oh my God. Sure. It is so fast. Like, especially if you want to, like, if there's a specific thing you're like, I want to address this week in therapy, like easily. I mean, it's kind of like the podcast, like 3 points sometimes is all we need, because we go and we talk about it for so long. Or
this is my therapy for now.
What'd you say?
So this is my therapy for now.
Yeah. I'm like, where are you right now?
Yeah. Literally.
I got 911 on speed dial. But yeah, I think, what was he saying? 30 minutes goes by very fast. And I recently found out that, my therapist also offers 45-minute sessions. I was like, maybe that would be better, because I certainly don't want to go for the hour long again, because that's like really expensive. But maybe I would, like, down the line. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like 45. I think my sessions were 45 minutes, but I feel like they were long enough to get like at least one point through. Or like, if it was really something that was on my mind for a really long time, and like it was just a good time to like really talk everything out, and for me to get it out, and then for my therapist to like respond to that. So
because I feel like an hour sometimes felt
too long.
Not necessarily, but it's, 30 minutes is like high by. Like, even like, it's not enough, I think, for bi-weekly. 2 weeks in concising that into 30 minutes with something as frequent as OCD. And I will say also, it's interesting how like say like the day after therapy for me, I think of something and I'm like, oh, I want to address, like, I already have something to address. Like by the time therapy rolls around, like that point that I wanted to make could be like completely in the past to me. Like I've already kind of addressed it on my own, which I think is a good thing, because I think the point of therapy is to give you tools, and also just like another person, like you were saying, to listen and who is detached from the situation and tailored to your needs and stuff. But I think it kind of arms you with those tools and to go about life, and just just solve the situations more on your own than anything else. Which of course it is good to have that guidance and go back and say, oh, I don't really know, because obviously like you don't know what you don't know, and it's kind of always a work, or always can be a work in progress. And I think it's good to check in, which I think right now, like with the bi-weekly, I think it's a good thing for sure.
I think when I was going, it was a lot of me just talking and not really like getting much back from my therapist though. And I feel like
but that's a good thing in your eyes, right?
I mean,
because you were venting, but
yeah, I guess at some point I went for like, I think I almost went for like a full year.
Oh wow, every week?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm
a lot of venting.
Yeah,
but that's good.
Yeah. It's then like there was a lot going on with my family, and then that would like personally like how it goes. But
so that's only like, I mean, you can think of it as like, wow, that's like 52 sessions, but also it's like that's only 52 sessions. Like when you think of a whole year and it's only 52.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
Like, you said they were an hour long each time.
Yeah, like 45, I believe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Then it can. That's also not much.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think I would have liked a little bit more reciprocation or like advice from my therapist. And I think at the time I didn't really, I knew that I could like switch therapists, but I was like, oh, I'm probably gonna like hurt her feelings.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah, and that's the part I think that I had to be like, oh, like whatever, like she listens to me as long as that's fine. Like I'm just getting it off my chest, and I think that's why I like just talking to people too, because I'm just like, if she wanted to say something to me that I was doing wrong, or like maybe how to really address the situation, she would have told me like at that like second. But if it was, she was just like, oh, maybe she just needs to get it off her chest, and that's fine too. Like I don't really mind.
Yeah, I think it's easy to get kind of tunnel vision in a way of like, oh, like I don't want to hurt their feelings because like I feel like if you ask pretty much any therapist, it's like, oh, I've dealt with so many people where it's like, because at the end of the day, they're doing it for your benefit. And if it's not benefiting you, then it's like, it's best to be like, hey, like this isn't working for me. And like, if you're a, like almost like a people pleaser, it can be hard to say that to somebody and be like, you're not good enough in a way, but like it's not the therapist's fault, it's not your fault, it's just a compatibility thing. And I'm sure any therapist who's been in the game for even a year and dealt with a number of patients, like I think they're well aware. It's probably something that's taught in schooling too, of like, don't get butthurt if like your patient's like this isn't working out. And I think that's a good thing to keep in mind.
I think it was just me, like that people pleaser side. I'm like, oh fuck, like I don't want to like hurt her feelings, I don't want to make her think that I don't like her. It's just like I just want something maybe a little bit different. But then my mom always told me too, because she would go and drop me off, and then she would go because it was like near the Carlsbad Village.
Oh wow.
So I was near there, so she would just go and like walk around, and then she'd come back and pick me up. But
okay.
She would always be like, are you sure like you're comfortable like with her, like you don't want to change therapists, like you don't like. I was just like, no, it's okay, like, whatever. And I appreciate my mom for always like asking and like, oh, like are you sure you want to keep going, or like,
oh, that's good.
She always made sure like I was okay with
that's really good, because I feel like a lot of people can be like, as far as parents can be like anti mental health.
No,
for
like
sure. Super bad. But I think it's really helpful when you have that familial support of especially when it comes to finances, and I mean it can literally make or break whether or not you go to therapy. Especially when you're a minor, like there's certain laws and stuff that they have to sign off on or whatever. But I think that's really good that you had someone, and I had the same situation where like it was because when I did start again, I was 16, so I was not an adult. And I think it's I'm very fortunate and lucky that not only could we afford it, but my parents let me too.
And I think our copay was like $20.
That's cheap. Mine for counseling was $40. That one did align with our insurance, but the OCD one.
Yeah, I think I honestly think the first few sessions were like $20 every time, and then I think they did ramp up to $40 because I started paying it because I was like working at the time at the hotel, so I had like cash on me to like because my mom sometimes would forget to give it to me, and I just like pay her, and then
it was only cash.
Yeah.
Huh.
Or no, not
table.
really. Yeah. Not really. Like she had a card too, and sometimes I would use my card then too, but it was mostly I just gave her cash because that's what I had on myself.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I specifically remember with the counselor I had when I was 16, my mom would always send me with $100 in cash.
Oh, really?
It was $100. Like,
that's crazy.
That must have not aligned with our insurance. Yeah. Unless it was like some really like top tier provider or something. But it was in like some, this is so not going to make sense to anybody who's not from the area, but like, the building across, like right next to Denny's, like that really old office building.
Yeah.
It was
right
there. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they had that.
So I went up like the jank elevator and like walked down the jank hallway, met with the jank counselor. But,
lines of cocaine on the desk.
Like his credit card.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I don't accept card. Unless you're going to use it to stash my cocaine. But I also specifically remember he like abruptly left. And I one day just got an email from him, and it was like, hey, I'm like switching offices, and essentially like abandoned me, which I think was really bad. Like, that's like the last thing a therapist should do to you.
Yeah.
So, or counselor or whatever. We should look up the difference between counseling and therapy because I'm really curious. Difference between counseling and therapy. It's a difference between counseling up there. What's it like getting counseling up there?
In heaven. With God.
God is probably the best therapist. 988, this is God. It says, this is from Ohio State University, March 14th, 2022. Broadly speaking, counseling tends to be focused on one specific issue and considered a short-term treatment. Interesting. That's interesting because, I'm rewinding, like wondering where I got the idea that the person I'm seeing right now for OCD is a therapist, but I don't think she's a counselor. But because I'm like, that's specific on an issue.
Yeah, that's true.
But maybe they mean one specific situation and not a specific condition. I don't know.
Probably.
That's interesting.
I would think your OCD person would be a therapist and not.
Yeah, especially because she did diagnose me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says therapy. This is from Bradley University. Therapy is considered a type of mental health practice when specifically done by a professional counselor, clinical social worker, or psychologist.
I would think that would be like a psychology.
So a counselor can do therapy?
But a therapist can't do counseling?
A therapist can't be on the city council? The third one says, because counseling is a broad field, the way counselors approach patient care widely varies, though counselors usually stay within their fields of expertise. Weird. That like didn't really clear up a lot for me. Thank you, Google. Yeah. I appreciate that. Now I'm going to kill myself because I didn't get my answer.
My dad, since he works for the city, he gets really good benefits.
I was thinking about that earlier when you said that you were on his insurance. I was like, that's some juicy insurance.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Like, honestly, we can go like anywhere we really want to.
Really?
Yeah. But I don't know. We've always been with Scripps, so we kind of just stick with Scripps. But my grandma recently got let go of her job, and so did my grandpa. So they're like struggling to get like Medicare and like all that stuff, and then switching over their insurances. She's like, I had like a specialist for certain things, and now I'm like, I can't get that.
Stressful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are they under 26? Because they can go on your dad's insurance.
Yeah. They have like Medicare, I think. I'm not sure which one is which, but
I'm not familiar with that either. I know there's like Medi-Cal, Medicare.
I think Medi-Cal is for like immigrants, isn't it? Like something like that.
I don't have it.
Yeah, me either. But anyways, they're like trying to get like this other insurance to line up so they can go back to Sharp because that's what they had before.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I'm with Sharp.
Yeah. And even with the company that they were working for, they also changed their insurance. So they had to do this like 6 months ago too.
Yeah.
So there's kind of like,
I just did this last year.
Yeah.
And I think it was like there was a little bit of a decrease on the rate, and that's the reason my dad did it. But then it jacked up at least one of my prescription prices. And so I'm like, was there even a change?
Yeah.
Like, did we even have to do this? And then now he just got a new job.
Shit.
And like his last day was like February 2nd with his old job. So I guess the way it works is that the benefits from that job stays until the end of the month.
Yeah.
So essentially I kind of wish it would have gotten cut off earlier again, so I could just figure it out and like get started, because I'm like, if I want to get a different specialized therapist or a regular one, then I could get started on that. But I'm like, I have to wait until, which thank God it's the shortest month of the year. I don't have to wait until February 29th.
I know.
It's not a leap year.
I have a whiteboard calendar, and you like put the dates on it and everything. And I went to like 28, 29, 30, and I was like, wait. And I checked my calendar. I was like, nope, definitely not 30 days.
Do you know how many of the months have 28 days?
Isn't it just one?
No, it's all of them.
What? Oh my God.
That's a thing. I'm also seeing the things going around like Facebook that's like free admission to Disneyland on February 30th this year. And everyone's like, holy shit. If you're a dumbass. But I honestly would have fallen for that.
Yeah, I would have been like, oh my God.
Literally just prove that I'm a dumbass. I literally would have fallen for that.
My dad always used to be like, oh, I'll buy you that on February 29th. Okay, just remember that. I'm like,
he
okay.
actually says it on a leap year. He's like, I'll get you a car on February 29th. And you're like, fuck, it's 2020. I'm actually getting a car this year. You like get him to sign a contract.
Yeah.
That's what I did to you.
Yeah.
Contractually obligated to be my friend. Like until your lease expires.
Oh God.
Oh, good times.
I'll just kill myself. Take it out of the contract.
Yeah, like it's like 18 pages of contract, and at the end it's like, unless she offs herself.
Yeah.
That's her only way out.
That'd be so funny. Just fake my death, honestly, at that point.
No, we did an understudy for you, so there's a replacement. Okay. Rachel comes in.
Okay, thank God.
Yeah. Oh, funny.
We should get a sponsorship with BetterHelp right now.
I've heard
that
bad things really about BetterHelp.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of those, like I don't know.
I only
Why did
know
I think of
BetterHelp.
Be Real? My therapist would Be Real.
I know that community clinics have like some way of getting counseling in there too. So I think that would be a good, if you don't have insurance or anything like that, I feel like that would be a good start. For that, I don't know how well that works though. My grandparents go to the community clinic, but I don't know. They've never been to counseling there. But
and there's likely, no matter where you're viewing or listening from, like you're in a community of some sort, so there's likely a resources obviously in your area. It just depends. I think it goes back to the point of like, it can be so discouraging if you finally try to reach out for help and it doesn't work, but you gotta keep like weeding through it, and eventually you will find, I mean, it's just a matter of getting started.
And I believe the like LGBTQ plus
those like resource centers,
community centers, they have, I believe, even if it's something with your sexuality, your orientation, like whatever, you can go there and get some help, I believe. And even I think if you express your needs to this can be kind of dicey, like I said, with OCD and the counselor that I dealt with when I was 16, but I'm sure there's a lot of knowledge in the mental health faculty community of how to refer someone to what they need. So even if you feel like you don't necessarily start in the right place, I feel like you have a pretty good shot, I'd hope, at saying this is what I'm dealing with, and which that can be hard in itself, like even just to voice it to another human being, and fear of judgment and fear of it going awry. And I think a lot of people also worry about the legalities and mandatory reporting. I feel like that's something that a lot of people kind of
use as a reason to shy away from therapy, and like rightfully so. I mean, it's scary and it's certainly valid, but like I think people have a fear of like being on the hold, like mental health hold and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think it's better to reach out than to not, because I feel like those systems are in place to hopefully help the person. It's like, as I'm saying all this, like I think of like, because I think on the outside, like I think of like homeless shelters and stuff, and then how people talk about like, oh, I got sexually assaulted in a homeless shelter or this or that. Like it's hard to know, so I mean take it with a grain of salt as always, but like because obviously we're not mental health professionals either, but I do think that it is better to reach out than not, because you don't know what you don't know, and you can really be helped to realize what help is out there, and what tools you can use to I mean, there are even like it's not even just like an understanding thing that's like a tool in itself, but like I've been given like printouts by my counselor before. There's a lot of, I mean, the therapy thing I'm with for OCD, like it's an app, so like that's what it's through. That's how I access the video chat and stuff. But there's like forums, and there's even like their own version of like Instagram stories that they have. So there's a number of different resources, and I think I'd imagine every provider has that kind of in their own style. Yeah,
and I think especially now in the day and age that we do live in, the internet is a thing. So it's like it definitely. Like, I know not all people have access to the internet, but if you do, like, even, like, watching maybe someone on YouTube that you think
that's how I
really connects with you, I feel like that's a good way of starting, too. Like,
absolutely.
It's definitely not therapy, but getting you to understand your own problems or, like, how to process things, I think, is a very good idea to start with that.
Yeah, I think typically, I mean, obviously it's not like, unless they're doing a Q&A or something, it's not specific to your situation, but sometimes, and I even go as far to say maybe oftentimes, when you're listening to a general approach to an issue, something can really resonate with you. And I feel like a lot of people with, I just, obviously, because I have OCD, I kind of just go back to that like idea, but I think I went through that. Like, I don't remember how I figured out that I had OCD, but like, I even remember as a kid, like, that's where I saw more of like the stereotypical like cliche, like, cause I would specifically remember like I did the light switch thing of like needing to flick it on and off a certain amount of times. Basically how OCD works is it attaches to what you value the most. So I think, and also the threats to those things you value can feel so genuine and real that you want to react. But the more, in a nutshell, how OCD works is there's a perceived threat to something you value that whether it's like real or not, it can feel so real. And then if you react to it, you're feeding the cycle. So they do this thing called ERP, which stands for exposure response prevention, where you're exposed to your fear and then you're supposed to not respond. That's like the compulsion. So it's an OCD. I have not mentioned what that stands for either. It's obsessive compulsive disorder. So like your obsessions can be, those fears of what you value and the threats to it. And the compulsion would be that response. You're doing a compulsion to make yourself feel better or make it, some people feel like if they flick the light switch off on and off, like their family won't die or something. Like they see a relation to that. And so it's important, like in that person's instance, for example, with this idea I'm talking about, it's like the exposure would be like not flipping the light switch on and off and then it would teach them that, your family didn't die, which like only like, could you imagine if it was like coincidentally something happened? Like they'd be like, "Oh my fucking god!"
Yeah,
but that would, oh my
so
god,
bad.
like what a nightmare, genuinely for like a person with OCD. Like that'd be really bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously those things can just happen. And yeah, so ERP, I've heard CBT also thrown around. That's cognitive behavioral therapy. I'm not super familiar with that one. But I think the one that's most specific to OCD out of those two is ERP. So that's something that I've been working. Like there was one thing I did recently with a loop tape in the it's called No CD. So if you're struggling with OCD, go to it's treatmyocd.com. So go to there. I highly recommend it. Even though it's kind of expensive. But yeah, one of them was a loop tape. So like I said one of my fears and my therapist recorded it and it went into the app and it just played on a loop. And that was the one that I went to in Orange County. So on my drive home, I listened to it for like 5 minutes straight. And that's the exposure to my fear.
While you're driving?
While I'm driving. So yeah, ended up off a cliff. Just kidding. Like, that's why I got a new car.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's
crazy.
just an example of one of the ways. I mean, it can be like writing it out. It can be saying, I've done that stuff is kind of nerve wracking where like, she has me say it out loud to her because I'm like, oh, like somebody's watching me. I think I've even mentioned that to her. Like, I don't know. I think it's just like harder if someone's like watching me like do this and listening to it. And yeah, it can be nerve wracking too because like when you and that goes for everybody. Like saying it's like your deepest darkest secrets. Like to a therapist. It's like you just wonder what's gonna happen because everyone has heard the stuff about mandatory reporting and 5150s and this and that. And it can be, I don't know, it can be scary to jump into an experience where you kind of feel like that's a possibility.
Yeah, for sure.
And I'd hope that I feel like that causes avoidance with mentioning, what's really going on. And that's really unfortunate. But yeah, I wonder, it's kind of like, what's the best way to go about it? Because I'm like, does the 5150 stuff even help?
I think
people call it a grippy sock vacation. You know those socks like that you get at like trampoline parks?
Yeah,
those are more fun grippy sock vacations. Trampoline parks, you do? Wait,
from the hospital.
Really?
Yeah.
From my
surgery, they gave me them.
Oh, okay.
They're not that type of hospital.
I was wondering. I didn't know like if you were comfortable saying or not.
No, but I think to each their own, like how they process things, how they like to go about things, what works for them and what doesn't work for them.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it definitely that too is like it's hard to start doing a new thing. Like me personally, I hate doing new things. So for me to like
change any change.
Yeah, for me to change, like right now when I got laid off of work, I was like, fuck, this is gonna be fucked up. I have to find a job that I have specific hours, that I know when I'm gonna work, that I know what time is my lunch, what time I have to take my breaks.
You're like a stickler on routine.
Yes.
Interesting.
I literally,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't like really like any type of change, like whatsoever. So with that, that's why I think I'm falling into this hole, because I'm like, I don't have a routine. Like I have to wake up at 8 to take my brothers to school, and then I take them to school, I come back, and I have nothing else planned for the day. So I'm just kind of like, what am I even looking forward to anymore? And then that's where I'm like, do I really have like a purpose right now? Like I need to do something. And then I'm like, I can't find, I love painting and I love drawing, I love doing that, but I'm like, I don't have any motivation to do that. Like I know I need to get to it, so it'll stimulate my brain in some sort of way, but I'm just like, I can't find motivation to start doing that. So I think even that for me right now is like, I started doing it for like a little bit. I started painting and then I just stopped. And then I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do.
That was
anymore.
after you lost your job.
Yeah. And so then I got into like making bracelets and like necklaces, and then I was like, okay, I'm done with that. What do I do now? And I was like, oh, maybe I'll start doing a scrapbook. And then I'm like, well, I don't have any pictures to print out yet, so I can't even buy like anything. And I bought a bunch of stamps, and I was like, fuck, I can't even use them because I have no pictures to really start my scrapbook. And I'm like, then I don't know where to start from there. And that's how I keep like getting backtracked with everything. I'm like, fuck. And so that's why I'm really trying to get a job right now, because I'm like, I need something to do, and especially being home and not really having anything to do definitely does like hurt my mental health. So
yeah, I think free time is a blessing and a curse sometimes, because it can be, you know, if you need to decompress from being so busy, obviously that's a good thing. If that's your way of decompressing. Some people, you know, their way of decompressing is still involves something productive. But in a way of being a curse, it can also be, you know, that's free time for your mind to roam and for you to start ruminating and kind of making up situations in your head or however your kind of stress manifests itself. But yeah, I think it's courageous that you even are kind of realizing, you know, like I want to fill my time more, and I want to reach out to a mental health professional for help, and I'm proud of you for that.
Thank you.
And yeah, because I feel like a lot of people don't even do that. They're so stuck in the rut, and I think you're being, even though it's not an ideal situation right now, you're still being proactive about it, and I think that's really good.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people in my family that do need therapy and like specific to certain things, and I'm just
they're not putting any thought towards pursuing that.
And I've always like told them too. I was like, why don't you go? And then like one specific person's like, oh, like there's like no point, like no one's gonna see my side, and I'm just like, that's the whole point.
That's their job.
I was like, that's what you tell them what's wrong, and they see your side and they explain it to you from other people's perspective also. And they're very much of like, oh no, I'm always right. So it's kind of like, you know, but
I think I might know who you're talking about.
So I'm just like, I don't like understand how you want to get better, or you're just trying to get better, yet there's still something holding you back, you know? And I try and communicate with them, but I feel like our relationship is kind of already
down in the dumps.
Yeah, and that it's not going to get good in 2 to 3 days. Like, you know, like it's going to like, they already have instilled something onto me that they always do. So it's like, it's hard for me to see that what they're doing to change is doing better than like, I know they're really trying to help themselves and help everybody else, but at the same time they're doing other things that still
have a negative impact.
So I'm just like, I understand, but you still have something else, like, you know.
And I think a therapist can also steer you in the right direction and say things, and even I think it's kind of almost like an art form how therapists can have a skill in the way things are brought up, because I think a lot of people, you know, there's a toxic element of, you know, like, say, I don't know, like your parents or something want to bring something up to you, and it's brought up in a way that's like, it doesn't show care or respect or something of that sort, where a therapist can be like even just prefacing it with like, this is within your best interest, like this is because I care about you, like that can be like, and it takes 5 seconds, like it can really help with. And we were in band together in high school. I remember the idea of a compliment sandwich. Like, it's like you start with something like, oh my god, your shoes look so good today, you're a horrible person, oh my god, I love your pants. Like, it's like you kind of like, you don't start or end with a with negative, you know. But yeah, so I think obviously that's like a crazy example, but I think it's especially at the beginning. I don't really see the end one as you know, as important. But I think starting with just, and I had a recent experience with this, with like someone brought something up to me, and I was like, I asked for reassurance like after it was brought up, and I was given it the reassurance I was hoping for, and I was like, yeah, that would have been a lot better if you like started with that. But like some people just don't have that skill, and they don't practice it enough to remember to do it, or it's harder for them or whatever, and that's fine. But I think it goes back to the point of a therapist. It's probably taught in school for them too, that as well. But yeah, I think that can, like, something so little as that can have such a big impact. If someone growing up never heard like someone preface a big like heavy point with like, this will be good for you, it might be hard to hear, blah 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 blah. I think that's important.
And I think with a person in my family, I definitely like had to bear a lot of their shit for me to like process it years later and know how to talk to them after. And like now it's still really, it is hard, but I'm like, I have more confidence because I know they're like trying. But like what I'm telling them, like when they first started like getting help for this, like I was the person to be like, you're fucking up and you're ruining everybody else's around you's life. Like, do you notice that?
Yeah, that's a good point. That like it's not even necessarily just about yourself. Like it can affect so many more people when that core person isn't getting help for themselves. And then that's when they were like, oh shit, maybe I should get some help. And so good. Later that day, like we had another talk and they were like, oh, okay, like, you know what, like I'll do it. And then like they got a lot better, but it's still like a personality thing that they have that I'm just like, it's kind of just ingrained in them. Interesting. Which maybe that's just something that have they gotten therapy yet?
They did when they were younger.
Oh, okay.
But
not since you're taught. Yeah. Maybe that's something that the therapist could kind of help them break out of and change their personality in a way that helps them get stronger in that area.
But they still have the view of like, oh, they're just paid to be there. Like, are they really trying to help me? And I'm just like, I can
see where they're coming from, but I would hope that, you know, I think that's just the level of professionalism that is shown in their work is like they know the meaning behind it and I've never heard that. Again, I've never heard that perspective, and I think it's interesting to hear that because I can understand where they're coming from.
And I mean, they're going to a group, which I told them, I was like, you need to get some help.
There's also group therapy. That's a good point.
I was like, there's people out there that are struggling with the same thing that you are, that are mostly in the same situation that you are with family and stuff. So I'm like, that's another way of therapy. Like, it's not one specific person, but you can hear other people's stories, and some people might have already been there for a long time, so they know what you're going through at the moment and how to kind of get out of
right.
I think that's
another tunnel vision element to it, is like when someone's struggling with something, they're so caught up in their own situation where you can almost lose sight of like, there's fucking 8 billion people on this earth. Like someone else is dealing with or has dealt with or is going to deal with what you're dealing with. And I think the beauty in it too is like, if you're like, you can be that person if you pursue it and improve. Whereas like if you then run into somebody in the future that went through that, you can be the one that they look up to and help them through it. And I think that's really beautiful. So as we have been doing every week, this you brought up this segment in like the first episode and it stuck. So we have our media of the week that we've been listening to lately or this week specifically. So why don't you say your first one? How many are you doing?
2, I guess.
2. She has 2 medias this week.
One of them, they're a YouTube channel. It's called React to the K. And it's just a bunch of like classical musician students that react to like K-pop music.
Oh wow.
And they like, I don't know, I like dissecting music. So even like if it's a new song, like I'll listen to it like in a very quiet place or like noise canceling headphones, so I can like listen to every single little part of the music.
It's the band kid in you.
Yeah, exactly. So
God, that staccato was so good.
Literally. And so like a lot of them, like they play different like instruments, they sing, they like can what is that called, where they can hear like the music and then just play it?
Oh, I don't know what that's called, but that's fucking crazy when people can do that.
So a lot of them can do that. So I just like even their input on like the way they did it, and they're like, oh, they should have done it this way, or like, you know. So I like that. And then I'm also on The Watcher. I'm watching
The Watcher. What's that?
Yeah, it's those guys. I don't know if you remember them they were from BuzzFeed.
The like ghost guys.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Anthony and
something
like
like that.
That Asian guy and the
the really tall white dude.
Keith.
No.
Oh.
What are their
Abraham
names?
Lincoln.
Hey, what are their names? Fuck. Anyways. Oh, wait. No, just kidding. Anyways, I don't know, but they're doing like they do like a top 5 list of like different categories, and they have like a guest on to the show, and then they do like they compare their 3. And so I saw the reason why I watched it because Brittany Broski was on one of them.
Oh,
and so
what's
they were
an example of one of the categories?
They did like fictional foods, so like Krabby Patties and like.
Oh, I did see. I saw this on my feed.
You really?
Yeah.
It's
Wait.
really.
Oh, that was. Oh, for some reason I'm thinking of the Good Mythical Morning guys, Rhett and Link.
Yeah, no.
I feel like they do the same thing though.
Yeah, I think they probably do, but yeah, they were doing like fictional foods, I guess. So like they were like doing Krabby Patties, and like she said the 3-course gum that they had in Willy Wonka.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's just like gum, and it tastes like 3 different like meals. But I thought it was really funny. But yeah, and I went into a rabbit hole with that channel, so I just
as
kept
YouTube
them.
does, and every other social media app.
Yeah. But yeah, those are my 2.
Well, happy Rihanna week to you guys.
Yeah.
Sunday was the first day of the week, so the rest of the week is Rihanna week. In honor of that, Run This Town, Jay-Z, Rihanna, and Kanye West. I might bleep that out. Yeah. I'm just gonna name all the like. I've also been listening to "Needed Me" by Rihanna and "All of the Lights," which also has Mr. Ye.
Damn.
But yeah, those 3 songs have been, and also "Shut Up and Drive"
and
and "Disturbia" and all of her other songs. Which, no tea, no shade. I get she's pregnant, so maybe this had something to do with it. Which like. No faults of her. I don't know if it was an accident or, you know, because I'm like, did you already book the Super Bowl and then you got pregnant on accident?
I mean,
like, what
they've
happened?
known for a year.
Oh, they have,
right? So they known since last
not,
year,
and you're never pregnant for a year.
Yeah,
so like, I guess I feel like it was an accidental pregnancy.
I think so too.
So, like, why would you? I don't know, because I do feel like it was kind of like low energy, and she couldn't like.
Oh yeah, that's what I was. My brother
really
was
excited for it.
Yeah, my brother was like, oh, this is lame. I was like, she's fucking pregnant, dog.
Yeah.
Like, she even like going up on that shit, I would have fucking thrown up. Like, what?
Yeah. Like seasickness from being on a floating platform in the middle of a football stadium.
Yeah.
And you could see she was like tethered because like,
oh yeah.
I don't know, like there was like a lack of movement because obviously you have to stay like on the center of that thing so you don't fall.
I think the dancers did an amazing job.
Yeah,
like they were so
I actually
cool.
mentioned that. I was like, I feel like the amount of dancers and like the movement from them is like to compensate for her.
That's what I was saying too.
The baby was such a good dancer.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I was just in there like
she's kicking,
pushing on her fucking uterus.
Oh my god, she just did a cartwheel.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought so too. I was like, oh, it wasn't like the best, I think. And I get she's pregnant and stuff, but I don't know.
It's all good. We forgive you, Rihanna. I know you're watching.
Yeah. And I was expecting her to maybe have other people on too, like everybody else does.
I mentioned that too. I was like, because Katy Perry had Lenny Kravitz and Missy Elliott.
Yeah.
And then there was like Beyonce, Bruno Mars, and Coldplay.
Yeah.
And this one was just Rihanna. I had never, or maybe with Michael Jackson. And
I think Michael Jackson even did have someone else.
What about
on.
Prince? Did Prince do it on his own?
I think Prince did it on his own.
Oh, okay. Because I hadn't recalled a year where they did that.
Yeah.
I actually, oddly enough, I'm not a sports person really, but like, I fuck with the Super Bowl. Like, I'll even watch the game and like the commercials, obviously, and the halftime show. Like, it was.
That's what I'm there for.
Yeah, I didn't watch it yesterday, but I did once the NFL posted the halftime show. I watched it, and I was like, oh, okay. Like,
yeah. It's like that joke where people are like, "Oh, at a Rihanna concert, but there's like football going on."
yeah.
It's like that for me. But
I
like
watched
for any other artist.
Beyonce and like Bruno Mars's one this morning, and like it was like the same kind of comment that I was like, "Oh, they played football at the Beyonce concert."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's what I think about when it comes to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. My other media of the week is Colleen Vlogs, Colleen Ballinger. I have been watching her for so long. It's definitely not a specific to this week type of thing.
Yeah.
I kind of like switch between her and Emma Chamberlain, at least as of late.
Yeah.
And they're my eating YouTubers. Like when I'm eating, I'll watch them. But right now I'm in my Colleen era again. I always, every day, like search up Colleen Vlogs, see if there's a new one. And if not, I watch one from like whenever. Like a lot of her like COVID quarantine ones pop up right now, where she's just like making fucking bread. Like it's just like filler, like noise, I guess.
Background
like
noise,
kind of having like the TV on in the background. But it's just nice. I don't know. I don't know what it is about it. It's just like the vibe is chill.
And I think it's very like comforting since we've like, I mean, I watched her too when I was younger. Yeah. So it's like, it's just kind of like knowing, you already know who she is. Yeah. And you know what she usually does. Right. And it's kind of like that. Yeah,
you feel like you know her.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, I don't know. I've been thinking about this kind of recently of like how genuine are they? And like, I think it's a little bit naive to like judge someone based on 15 minutes of their day, especially since it's not 15 minutes straight. Like it's picking up the camera to get these little clips, like whenever they feel like it. Not to say they're ingenuine, but I feel like, you know, especially sometimes when there's money involved, like it's your livelihood. You want to make it entertaining. So, but at the same time, make it genuine. I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but yeah, I've watched her for a long ass time. And I had the Miranda Sings kind of phase. I went to a few shows and it's like me eating. It's like, my uncle. But yeah, I've been watching her quite a bit recently. So
super fun.
I like I'll never like sit down and watch a vlog of hers. Like I feel like it is more of that background type of thing. But yeah, that is this week's episode of Grain of Salt. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening and being here with us. I think this was definitely one of the heavier topics.
Yeah, for sure. And not too much laughing.
So was last week. Like, what did you say?
I said not too much laughing.
Yeah. We're compensating. Yeah. Just laugh for 5 minutes straight. So yeah, it sounds like next week will be another one that we choose. And then the week after that, you guys can look forward to submitting your own. Not that you don't look forward to these ones because every episode is really good. But yeah, we will be like essentially just be on the lookout for when we post on our Instagram story and say like prompting topics to be submitted and get brainstorming because give us that content. Yeah,
please. We need it. We run out of ideas.
Yeah. Don't forget to follow our Instagram and TikTok. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit those the notification bell to get notifications about when we post and whatnot. And yeah, we will see you guys next Thursday. As always, love you so much. And yeah, bye.